Well, thank you very much for staying here with us on Prime Morning. And as we promised you, we're bringing you a one-on-one conversation with the National Communications Director of the minority New Patriotic Party. Some months ago, I could just flow into about 6 months ago, the New Patriotic Party was in power and was the incumbent government. They went into an election and lost to their opponents, the main opponents, the NDC, by a very, very big margin, relatively. Now, after this, the NDC has started work, has gone into its first quarter of being in government. Some promises have been made, some of them fulfilled, some of them on the way to being fulfilled. But what is the stance of the NPP regarding some key measures that have been touted by the NDC going into this particular second quarter of the year? Well, the National Communications Director of the NPP, Richard Ahiagbah, is my guest today, and we'll be looking at a range of issues, including himself and how he's navigated this role so far in opposition, and what some of the challenges are, what the prospects also are as we go further into the first year of NDC making a return to power under John Dramani Mahama. Thank you, Richard. Good to see you.
Same here. Good morning.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's been quite a while. Yes.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah. What have you been up to in the past, 2 weeks?
The past 2 weeks. Past 2 weeks has been about party. It's been about prepping for the National Thank You Tour. I was on it, I think, at the opening in Western Region. And I left to come back to Accra to prepare for the demonstration that is happening, as you know, on the 5th of May, against the president's unconstitutional attempt to usurp the role of the judiciary, thereby affecting our democracy and judicial independence. And so the past 2 weeks has been very eventful. We've been active at the party headquarters. In fact, right from January 7th, we've been engaged in activities to bring our party back together and to get on the road to 2028, where we believe that we, all things being equal, will be able to annex power from the NDC.
Would go into what's been happening with the NPP in terms of reorganization and what's been happening over the past, fortnight. But let's focus on you a bit. I mean, you took over from the former MP for Adenta, Samoa, who eventually defected from the party to join Mr. Alan Kyerematen. Tell me about this role and how you've managed to navigate this very, very crucial role within the NPP tradition.
Well, certainly it's been teamwork. Largely it's been teamwork. Bobbing, who I hope that with some of the calls that is coming in for amnesty and the rest, I hope that he will accept it and come back home. Where he is now is in purgatory, if you want to say so. He has no business being where he is. He should come back. He's a very passionate person, somebody who I respect, his intellect, his commitment to the party, unmatched. So it's my senior, and I would join the call just for his sake, that if the amnesty happens, that he comes back home. But he's done solid work with a balance of team who has been with him. And I worked very closely with him when he was a director of communication. Then I was at DI. We worked very closely. So I followed in his footsteps. There's a lot that we do at the communications that is behind the scenes, with the management of the infrastructure across the country, and also working in a team, found a way to actually get our team excited about what we have achieved in government and how to communicate that across the spectrum. Now you have many different mediums of communication, social media to traditional media, and through other means to ensure that Ghanaians get to know what we have done in government. Unfortunately, our pursuit was not successful, but it was clear that it's not because of want of communication or ineffective communication, but it was a host of issues that came. But we've adopted, and we're doing a few new things, including but not limited to training our people, motivating our people trying to provide a bit more detailed guidance. And I think that as the time goes on in opposition, we're going to be able to concentrate a bit more on what we have to do and sharpen the skills of our communicators to drive the narrative on behalf of the people of Ghana. Now, we work for the people of Ghana. We advocate for the people of Ghana. And so our focus is to try to align with the feelings and the desires and the wishes of the Ghanaian people. And that will come through consistent training and workshops.
You mentioned your predecessor and the work that he's done, the solid job that he's done, and the fact that he has to become a prodigal son. He needs to make a return home.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity to do that, December elections in 2024. That was not done. What will be the difference now? What do you think will be the difference now?
I mean, a whole lot of things have changed. Perhaps maybe before the elections, there's all this feeling in a politician, even if Donko wants to win an election, correct? May his soul rest in peace. Anybody?
I don't believe that even Donko, maybe you'd want to qualify that.
Oh no, I'm just talking. Yeah. I'm saying that not in a derogatory way, but to say that a party. I don't know if you have seen a party branch or organization anywhere, but I'm just talking about.
So you are saying
not her person, but
so I needed that clarification.
Yeah, about the party, about her party. Do you remember the name of her party? You understand? So I'm just saying that even that political party wants to win power, much less Movement for Change, who is riding high on its association with the New Patriotic Party, with a candidate that has name recognition and has done a lot of national service. And so there was that feeling that they could win the election, but now that they have seen their full length, maybe it's time to come home.
His boss, Mr. Alan Tremating, I mean, he is the bigger fish in the scheme of things. Does he also fall within this big net that you want to use to capture all those who have left the tradition?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's something that bars him from coming, except that he has that history already, that he left the party and came back, which means that the conduit exists for him if he wants to retract and come back home. I believe that what happened was emotive. The decision to leave was emotive. And so they can recant that. I've made the point that, look, okay, let me just use myself. I can't fit in any political party. If anything happens so much that I leave the New Patriotic Party, I don't think I can fit in any political party because the thinking, the value system, the raison d'etre of the party, the New Patriotic Party, aligns with my thinking that if I apply it to my own life, it works for me. And so apply to the life of our country, it works. What we need to fix is the human element in that, the collective pursuit of people and the discipline that is required to pursue that.
I like the element of human, the human element that you've brought in there, because that also becomes very important, especially when it has to do with the Alan story with NPP. He's an individual. You've mentioned individual and emotions and all of that. Well, that came to play, and he took the decision based on certain happenings within the party. Would this be a deliberate effort by the party to reach out to all of these individuals, Alan included, or it's just something, because for now, it's sounding like it's just something that's being put out there in the media?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good call. I think Honorable Kede Japon made that call. I think it's a very sound call. For a political party, we want nothing less than people coming together, believing in a cause that we signed up for, and driving that to lead our country. And so I think that that proposition will be considered very seriously, and I think that in the fullness of time, it will be operationalized. I think it should be, because really, if there's no probable cause, I would agree. That's not to take anything away from my senior brother, Alan Tremating, and the group that joined him, including my own senior, Bobing Asamoah. I don't take anything away from them. But to be honest with you, there's no probable basis for their exit. Let's not. You can't see it because the election as was being conducted, it was open. The process was open. And there isn't anything anybody can pinpoint that, okay, well, the process was skewed for this person. You can imagine that because of your politics. You can see certain things and amplify them and say, oh, this means that, this means that. But if you look at the process as it was, there isn't anything.
Are we being fair to Alan and the like if we say that there's no probable cause because he did make his reasons known? I mean, you are very well
I don't remember any.
You don't remember?
I don't remember any. Because see, you can remember, I can remember if there was a purpose or the reason for him to come to that conclusion. There wasn't. I just thought that it was just, if there was any reason at all, it was largely, I don't want to sound controversial, but it was for me emotive. It was like I should be the lead, and if I'm not the lead, then forget about it. That's what it was for me. You know, because when the first round result came, right?
There's nothing wrong with aspiring to become the lead.
No, there's everything right with that, which is the reason why you're engaged in the context, correct? But when the first round result came, predictably, you would have said, well, if Alan is not first, at least he should be second. But he came in third. Is that whose doing is that? That's not nobody's doing. It's just how things are. Things happen. There's time for everything. When this particular time is not happening, you stay in and then go the full hog. Okay, so just as he did.
The collective of Dr. Bawumia and the party as a whole, his team, he was settled on to lead the party, started off the campaign, worked very hard, was very visible, went to various corners of this country, sold his ideas to the people, but he couldn't perform when it came to the numbers.
I mean, we didn't win the election.
Yes, but that also means that the numbers couldn't help you.
Well,
perform well.
So let's just say that with the NPP didn't win the election. That's a better description.
Or he didn't perform well in the election.
Well, that is relative. So we didn't win the election is
President John Dramani. Hold on, Rich. President John Dramani Mahama did not perform well in the 2020 election against Nana Akufo-Addo. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
Yeah.
Also, in 2016, President John Dramani Mahama did not perform well against Nana Akufo-Addo. So in the same way, Dr. Bawumia did not perform well against John Dramani Mahama.
That's not wrong at all, but for purposes of conversation, it is one or the other, which is in the election. You either win, you either win or you lose. You either win or you lose. Okay, so the focus is on whether you won or you lost. So that makes it a bit more straightforward. So we didn't win the election. And because we didn't win the election, we have to organize and come back again. I think that everything in the 2024 election, the campaign, everything appeared to us, to our best imagination and organization and effort, that we were going to win the election. We actually worked for that. And I told you earlier, when I referenced Madame Ekuadonko and even the smaller parties, their efforts, honestly, is to win the election. And so we believed and we worked for it, and which is the reason why the thank you tour was necessary and National Council sanctioned it for it to be done. And so the outcome of the election, we embraced that because we're Democrats essentially, so we're not going to have to quibble about the results. We embraced it, we announced and supported and congratulated His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And so we are moving on. And our commitment is that we are fallen, but we're not going to stay in that place. We have to reorganize and position our party for success in 2028. So that's what we're focused on. The challenges to do with what caused our defeat, and that the committee, the Election Review Committee, has brought some proposals that we're going to implement, and we believe that when those things are done spiritedly, we'll get our party in good shape, and whoever becomes our flag bearer will be able to lead us to victory.
Well, if you're just joining us, you may have missed a little bit of it, but don't worry, we're always streaming so you could get back to the conversations. I'm having a sit down with Richard Ahiagbah, who is the director, the National Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party. We've been talking about his person, his involvement in the whole process, what has been happening since the NPP lost the election, and also the process of reorganizing and some of the suggestions that have come back, including some persons who have defected from the party to form their respective political movements to return, and how the party is also, considering moving with some of these suggestions that have come off. Now, let's get into the national thank you tour. Just in the last 24 hours, we saw, the Bono regional chairman of the party, address, delegates and party members, and his utterances seem to have drawn a lot of infuriation from Mr. Kennedy Agyapong, and it became, and the optics for a party that wants to reorganize with a platform like that do not exactly look good. Would you agree with that?
Well, again, it's a relative situation, but I see where you would think it doesn't look good.
I'm looking at this purely from a Ghanaian who's looking at an organization wanting to put up a unified and organized front before its immediate publics. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's early days yet, and this is part of the healing process. And the other end of the spectrum in the narration of what happened at that platform with Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, Abronye, DC, I think that where the other end of it showed you what is possible. That in spite of the challenge, toward the end, they smoked the peace pipe. They understood themselves to the point that this is not about them, that this is about the New Patriotic Party, far bigger, far consequential than any of them. Possibly in any terms you can imagine, because that we're engaged in a generational fight to preserve the tradition that's been bequeathed to us. And in our time, we must do everything regarding the future and the posterity who we are preparing this party for. And so it is not about me. It is not about Honorable Kennedy Agyapong. It's not about Abronye. It's about carrying on a tradition that we have inherited, positioning it, strengthening it, branding it in a much better light, and handing it to the next generation. And so they realized that, and then they had to come to terms with it and smoke the peace pipe, that they are elements involved in achieving a bigger goal, and that they cannot make the goal about themselves, but they must fall in line and ensure that that ultimate goal is achieved. And I think that that's what you're going to see here going forward. And just to give you some information, this morning, there's some effort to engage, to try and refocus the efforts on the thank you tour. It's a human institution, first of all, and we have to understand that. And there are instances people, emotions get out of alignment, and we need to find ways to roll it back in, and I think that is being done. But then, of course, it just shows you that the NPP is not robotic, that it's a human institution, it's dynamic, and when these things happen, which happens in every human enterprise, we have the mechanisms to correct ourselves and to build forward together.
What's the next stage of the tour? And like you said, you're refocusing because obviously some events seem to have thrown, or some events have happened that were unexpected and seem to have thrown things off a little bit. What's the next stage? Which are the key areas of the country that you're going to focus on in the next stage of the tour?
Right now, I think they are in Ashanti region now. But I think at certain points, maybe today or Friday or so, they are going to be back in Accra to join us in the demonstration. I understand there's a meeting this morning with all the stakeholders to deal with some matters that are happening, again, emphasizing the recognition that we are a body of people and we need to be able to work together to accommodate everyone. So that meeting is likely to balance the issues on the tour. But as I said, they would come back to Accra, join us, so take a few days break, join us, finish the demonstration, and then they'll carry on the tour.
What would be the response to anyone who suggests to you that this tour, because I've heard that as well within the ranks of the party, you know, regular members, some who are, you know, in one-on-one conversations will tell you that you know, the machinery within the party wants to immediately put Dr. Bawumia back in the faces of the people so that they start marketing him immediately ahead of time, so that by the time the party gets ready constitutionally to organize another elective Congress, they get him back as flag bearer so that he goes back and faces who the NDC will put up for the next election.
Well, I mean, whoever says that may have reasons based on their politics. But as far as I am concerned, there's no limit on anybody to being in the faces of the people. Say, for example, Honorable Kennedy Japan, if he is running, on my senior brother Kobnaji Japan, if he wants to run, Koju Nsefwa, if he wants to run, Honorable Bache Jaco, if he wants to run. Nothing stops them from coming to your studio here and then have an interview. Nothing stops them from going out there engaging the party. Nothing stops them from doing that. Dr. Bawumia is in a unique position, apparently, because he was the flag bearer in 2024. And to follow a certain tradition in our politics in this Fourth Republic, having engaged people to work for you, to canvass for you, for an election that you believe you wanted to win, I think it makes sense to go and thank the people.
Cool.
That, yes, I engaged you to work for me, it didn't go well, but I have intention of perhaps coming again or not coming again if I don't get a chance to come again. But I want to thank you for what you did for me yesterday. I think it's just the right thing to do. And it's not in any way giving a leg up over anybody. And in fact, because of this perception, I think in the wisdom of National Council, it was made a party program for the first time, inviting all other aspirants who may still have the aspiration to run to join in, which is the reason why you have Honorable Kennedy Japan and Koju Nsefwa is on there as well, and all other ones are invited to join. And so for me, it is an effort, honestly, to prepare the new patriotic party, to regroup after the defeat, the blame here and there, to let all that settle so we come back together as one force, prepare the party ready to be led. And so this effort now we're engaged in, it's not about Dr. Bawumia, it's not about Honorable Kennedy Japan or any other person. It's about the NPP. How do we get the NPP to a place, the elephant to a place, that when we elect a flag bearer, he can have a stable elephant to ride him to victory? That's really what we're doing. We're preparing the table for that dinner.
Great. Dr. Bawumia obviously is the focus of all of this because he is the leader who went into that elective battle.
Yeah.
Now, his second in command, the Honorable Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, he made some blunders, you know, on stages, and that also left its impressions on Ghanaians, whether or not they agreed with his political ideas or his political tradition. What's the plan, you know, for this, within the greater plan, for Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh to warm his heart back, or warm himself back into the hearts of the unconverted, because those numbers will also come to play very heavily when you come back to seek the mandate of the people to put whoever leads the party into office? Yeah.
So on that specific matter of the running mate, it's a relative situation, right? When where we are seated now, the way you put your hand there, somebody will think that, oh, maybe that's not, I don't like that. People will criticize everything you do. You know, your color choice, people will criticize, why is it turned his hat this way or that way? And so people will criticize things. But I'm thinking that because we are human, right, we take inputs when people make them, and we amend as and when necessary. So I think that when we get to a point where in the event Dr. Bawumia is the flag bearer or anybody else a flag bearer and finds a partnership with NAPO useful for us to win the election, certainly I think that he brings more to the table than may possibly be imagined to take away given the events that unfolded in the 2024 election.
Yeah, an unfortunate incident ensued yesterday. There was a gentleman who was referred to as a supporter of Kennedy Ahiagbah, or a sympathizer of the party, but identifies more with Kennedy Ahiagbah, who got stabbed. There were images of him, scattered all over the media space. Is this an incident that that you have or you are aware of? And what's the reaction of the bigger, the bigger organization, the party structure?
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I told you earlier there's a meeting this morning of all the stakeholders on the tour. They are meeting to find a direction to address some of these things. Because the tour really, when it started in Western Region, was beautiful. The regional office and the other 3 stops that we had was a huge excitement, right? People were excited, were dancing, and so the focus was there that people are longing for the party to get back together. So that was there. And then the degeneration that we saw, that we referred to already, the altercation between our 2 leading members, and then yesterday, where it shouldn't be about those things. Like, it became almost an organization within organization where perception, or maybe the allegation, is that the members supporting Kennedy Ahiagbah are organizing, Jama groups and issuing T-shirts for them to wear and the likes. That's really not what the Thank You Tour is about. It's to bring us together, which is the reason we have 2 people on the platform who had contested each other.
Is that to say that sorry to cut in, but is that to say that probably, just like you say, it's a human institution, the engagements that were supposed to be done in the background to put up this united front, to do this tour, was probably not done fully?
Well, you can say that, but you can say that, given what is played out, you can say that. But then I can assure you that a lot of effort was applied towards that to ensure that we have a united front. And then beyond that, our Constitution actually guides us to have that united front, because we're an organization regulated by rules. So anything I will do to dent the good image of the party, I shouldn't do it, even if my emotion tells me to do it. I need to be minded by that. You understand? Yeah. So to the extent that I would display a certain public show or act that adversely affect the party's image, I shouldn't have to do it. I should be constrained by it. That's why we have rules. So these happenings, it doesn't matter how well you prepare in the background. When people conduct themselves in this way, it just clearly shows indiscipline. But that's not what we should be projecting. So matters to do with that, just a small clarification to do with the person that was stabbed. My understanding is that young man is part of a student Jama group that was invited to canvass a certain support for a certain candidate. So he's not necessarily a supporter of the party, by extension you can say, but they were invited in to provide some musical atmosphere in support of his candidate. That does not make it right that he's put in a certain situation like that. I just want to draw the distinction that it's not a party supporter, so properly said. He was there to do a certain piece of work, but the whole happening yesterday is just not something that we have to encourage, and doesn't reflect well on us.
Well, we're glad to have all of you here on board, because we're still within conversation with the National Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party. We've been dealing with a range of issues, and just gone by was that of the happenings at the last edition of the Thank You Tour, or the last stop of the Thank You Tour. And as we've been told already, the party's leadership is in consultations and a lot of conversations in the background to rehash and reorganize the tour. Of course, when it comes to the NPP, there are certain words about reorganizing that we cannot use for political reasons. But on the lighter note, Richard Ahiagbah made a comment about, style choices and color choices and how people can disagree with them. It's rather interesting that by accident, I decided to wear two colors that his political tradition can agree with, and he happens to be in green pants, color red and color black, which immediately identifies with, make sure nobody takes a video and goes to, do a little painting of you with NDC colors.
Well, this will cancel any propaganda.
Well, the colors are bold enough.
Well, I'm just saying that when I'm demonstrating against the NDC, it nullifies every propaganda.
Interesting. Let's get into the happenings so far. Before we get into the happenings so far, with NDC Part 2 under John Dramani Mahama, let's focus a bit on our immediate past president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who now is assuming, a statesmanly space regarding his relationship with the people. How much consultation has been done with him, or how much of his knowledge and reverence to his person has been applied in the scheme of things in these first 3 to 4 months? Because obviously he's a big block within the party now. Absolutely, he is the second person to have brought that kind of victory to the party, to occupy the presidency, goes down into the party's history books. And
absolutely.
And for that matter, Ghana as well. Absolutely. How much of his counsel has been sought in reorganizing and doing all of this?
Yeah, I think the tour, I think before it, the Michael Quay report was submitted somewhere, I think 16th April, at the National Council meeting. Before that, there was NEC, and the president sat through all of them. The president was actively engaged in the conversation. I sat in a place where I could see him actively paying attention. So he was up to speed with every conversation, and if there were any disagreements at all, he would have, stated that. So by his participation in the discussion, leading and formulating and deciding how the thank you tour should be, I'd say that his wisdom is implicit in the final decision of National Council. So he is one person that the party defers to and will continue to defer to, that just as much as we do President John Agyekum Kufuor. These are individuals who have been there, done it, have led our tradition, and will always be integral parts of our planning and the doings in the party. So definitely the former president, His Excellency, it's interesting to call him former president, but I think that's what it is. He's served his time.
Flies, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's done his bid, and I think that time would vindicate his input and his inherent commitment to Ghana. I've told people that I cherish any time I get to talk to him, because even at his age, and I'm saying that very in a positive light, he's sharp. You get there, and when you hear the urgency with which he talks about Ghana, you admire it. It's just that in the political space, with all the propaganda expertise of the NDC, when you hear NDC talk about Akufo-Addo, you think that, is it the same person I think Akufo-Addo is? They've done a good job mischaracterizing him, but I tell you, you just have to have a one-on-one conversation with him, and you realize his heart for Ghana.
Yeah, for the limitations of time, I would have even wanted us to go further into the subject of the former president, because yes, he's a human being, he's done some very good work. You talk about your relationship with him and what he churns out when you are seeking his counsel and drawing from or learning from his feet. But obviously, as a human being, and just like you have also indicated that in human institutions there are blunders and mistakes, he also may have made his mistakes as well.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but we'll get into that. But news is coming in. from our site, myjoyonline.com, indicating that the Honorable Kennedy Ahiagbah has withdrawn from the NPP thank you tour, citing security concerns. That's a breaking story on myjoyonline.com, just came in here. Yeah, we're here in the studio, so I don't know.
Yes. Oh, no, I mean...
Have you had any hint of, did you have any hint of that?
Yeah, but I indicated there's a meeting ongoing this morning was supposed to address some of these matters.
Okay, so this is something he indicated,
Yeah, I think given the turn of events, maybe this is not exactly bad that, he withdraws following the events yesterday. But what... I'm yet to get the full story, but what I am clear about is that his commitment to the efforts of the party remains unquestioned. So to the extent that this would de-escalate the environment, because, it's a thank you tour that is supposed to have one objective. But where you get to a point where there is organization within that one singular objective that are contrary. Okay, there's on one hand, organization to advance or canvass for a certain candidate as though it's a campaign. It's not.
You've mentioned that already.
You've mentioned that already. Yes, to try to de-escalate that, his withdrawal actually helps us achieve that. Though it's a pain point for me that the kind of united front that we wanted to forge, if we had managed ourselves well, without this development of let me do this for me, let's do that for that, rather follow the bus and do what it is we want to do. I think that would have been a much better outcome for us.
Let's get into the, future, but draw a few hypothetical situations. A hypothetical situation where a stalwart, Kennedy Ahiagbah, is not or decides, irrespective of the conversations that go on, not to participate in the thank you tour. A thank you tour, or the remainder of the thank you tour, without a Kennedy Ahiagbah. What could that, what could that communicate to the people?
Honorable Kennedy Ahiagbah is an inherent party member. He's a true MPP. He loves the party. I mean, even just the display you saw in Bono region where after that outburst, smokes a peace pipe with Abronye. It demonstrates love, it demonstrates heart, and I think that he will always be MPP. And
we do know that, and he's never run away from that. But I'm just saying that what we've seen in the past of we've seen various scenarios, not necessarily with him, but with others, and there's a possibility he may say, something, you just go ahead, but I would want to operate from the background. What then would the
absolutely? Then that's exactly, you've answered your own question. If you're operating for the background, it's part of the whole.
But you do know that being in the front line as well has its it has its own advantages and pluses.
Yeah, he could be sitting here in this chair, having this interview with you, promoting the thank you tour. That's still the unity we're looking for.
Well, we'll definitely have to have this conversation another time, but I want to veer into the, the Save the Judiciary demo, as your T-shirt indicates, in wrapping up this conversation. 3 petitions were sent to the president. Upon reviewing them, he decided to ask the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship, Torkornoo, to go on suspension while, the committee that he had set up look into the issues and their merits. By this demonstration, is the collective then saying that there is no source of merit whatsoever in these 3 petitions that have been sent?
Right.
And also, do you have the benefit of the full details of these petitions that were sent?
Right. Okay. So, first of all, the petitions, I think there are 5 now. And I'm pretty sure by the time we're done, they will probably mobilize and bring 5 more. What is essential for us to know is that this whole effort to remove the Chief Justice is more of politics and less of law. That the president and his party, the NDC, wanted to achieve a certain end, which end they have signaled in opposition.
Before you go on, isn't this becoming of the political class? Because you hear all of the landmark cases, you know, in common law and all of that in our country since the emergence of the 1992 Constitution, and politicians like yourself, your good self, will tell us that, oh, this is the doing of politics and not law, and there are quite a number of examples.
Yeah. You know, so it's an interesting interaction between law and politics. But you see, the law follows the politics. Politics is the essence of the thing, and the law tries to regulate the interest of people. Because, you know, it's politics essentially about sharing, isn't it? And so in sharing, what law regulates the sharing? You understand? So those who want to cheat when it comes to the sharing, those who want to abuse, those who want to be excessive in their utilization of power would be constrained by the law not to go to the extremes that are not acceptable. So that our government is structured to be a three-part structure. They have the legislature, executive, the judiciary, each checking each other. That's how we find balance. And our human physiology, the same thing. Everything in the world is internally regulated. So that when there is a state of disequilibrium, you fall sick. That's like you fall sick. When parts of your system is not working the way it ought to be, you fall sick and you have to fix it so that there's balance. What the president is doing politically, when they have indicated to us that the judiciary is biased, unanimous FC, and all of that stuff they were saying. Felix Kwachofosu, when they came to power, was on one of your sister stations, was talking about how is it that historically the judiciary is biased against the NDC. So what are they going to do about it? They have purpose to create a situation of subjugating the judiciary.
But they will also argue that the law, like you describe it, and as we all do know, is one drenched heavily in regulation, in rules that we are all supposed to adhere to and live by. The practice of the law and those who have the privilege of serving at the bench are expected to conduct themselves in a certain way regarding being examples to society and to the people who are practicing the profession when it comes to the adherence to rules and regulations. And some of the reported, and I will use the word again, reported elements of one of the petitions, the first three petitions, was that of not adhering to rules regarding travel, for instance. And the CJ is a very senior officer of state who is expected to conduct herself in a certain manner to adhere to simple rules and regulations. Frivolous matter. Okay.
Completely frivolous. And this reveals the political motive of the NDC. They cooked up this thing. They should tell us that they haven't cooked it. They cooked it. This is engineered to take away. Engineered
from where?
Engineered by those who are pushing the thing. What
You're saying that the five petitions now, the first three and the remaining two that have come, or the subsequent two,
I'm saying that this is politics.
So you are saying that they were engineered from within the NDC? You have evidence to that?
I don't have evidence, but you see what is happening.
But you cannot say that the NDC have cooked this without telling.
But what evidence do you want? It's the same thing the last time we saw cocaine was supposed to have been brought somewhere. We had issues with flights coming.
Talk about cocaine another time. We're focusing on...
No, I'm just saying, I'm just giving you, when people ask you for evidence.
Yes.
I don't know what evidence they're asking you to bring.
Evidence, I'll give you an example
because that is an improbable case.
I'll give you an example of evidence that you can tell me, for example, that my lead producer, or my director for the show, Sarah, is the one who has the plan, or is a member of the NDC who has the master plan in executing what is being done now. Then we can start relating to that. But if we say that it's cooked within the NDC and you cannot tell me where specifically from the NDC it's coming from, it becomes a problem for those who are watching us and listening to us.
If you don't see a duck, but what you hear quacks like a duck, talks like a duck, walks like a duck. You haven't seen a duck, but you call it a duck because it's everything about its, audience, maybe sounds that you're hearing confirm
that is why
I'm saying that
that's why you're and I like the words you're using as well. Like I talk like Richard.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you not been told that you speak? I'll give you an example.
But reasonably.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So have you been told that you speak like the founder of the Dankwa Institute, lawyer Gabi Asare-Ochodaku, you communicate like him, but you are not Gabi?
Yeah.
Exactly. So in the same way, talk like a duck, it's like. You're talking like a duck, but you're not a duck.
It's a simile that you must accept, because really, when you look at it, because you can't see the picture, that becomes your only basis for conclusion.
Okay, but
you understand?
But in the
let me just say,
in the area of law,
forget about law for now. We are not in the realm of law. I'm telling you that this whole thing is more about politics.
But we are in an environment which is heavily regulated by law.
Fine.
This matter is one heavily drenched in law.
I agree. I'm saying that. I'm saying to you that this matter is a political thing. The law is just providing a medium to execute their politics. They told you when we were in opposition that NDC lawyers, get yourselves ready. We want you to get into positions to lead the judiciary. President John Dramani Mahama said so. Okay. In opposition, he couldn't do that. Now he's in power. This is the time to give effect to that. So if somebody told you,
not going to take over positions in the judiciary.
From where I come.
Yes.
No, it is.
But we need to be clear. No. Just before you go on, we need to be clear on it. Just wanted to be sure that you're saying that he stated categorically that NDC lawyers are going to take over positions in the judiciary. Is that what you're suggesting?
But didn't you hear him?
No, you are the one telling us. You are educating us now.
I'm saying that everything the former president said.
Assume that I didn't hear him. Please educate me. So what specifically he said?
What he was saying, that NDC lawyers must get themselves ready to assume the positions of judges and the rest.
When? And what platform?
That was we met with the NDC judges in Akosombo. I forgot the year, but actually it was
NDC judges,
NDC lawyers.
Okay.
NDC lawyers.
Very well.
In Akosombo, I think this was 2023.
We sure need to have a second.
No, but let me just make a point.
Where time is not our best.
But
friend.
We're supposed to talk about the demonstration. But the point I am making is that for everything that is happening, you can trace it to the politics that preceded it. And that they are on the path to achieve a certain end, which allows them control of the judiciary to be able to advance a certain end. You saw the GBA's resolution. And a lot of people are focusing on the call to revoke the suspension of the Chief Justice. But I focus on the resolution's presence of mind to highlight that the acting Chief Justice has directed that every case that ought to be assigned must go through him.
Very well.
Right?
Very well.
That is giving you an indication to a certain appearance of control that they want to exert.
Very well.
So my view...
Let's finally get into the, unfortunately we can't get too much into detail. We'll find some more time.
You can create some more time.
No doubt about that. But rollout time, what will be the plan for rollout, briefly, before we wrap up?
Clearly, on the 5th of May, we are going to be on the streets. We start very early in the morning. By 5 o'clock, people start converging. 7 o'clock, we move. We're submitting a petition at the Supreme Court. We're gathering opposite the Supreme Court. We'll submit a petition there. We'll move from there through a Greek traffic light to Ministry. We'll go in front of the High Court complex, 10 right at Ministry, traffic light straight to Parliament. We'll submit a proposal there. And from there towards Liberation Roundabout, Ring Road, directly to Jubilee House, we'll submit a proposal there. Our goal is to touch the three legs of government, to make our intention clear that we will not stand for our democracy to be vanquished in the manner the NDC, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, are setting up to do. And so we invite your good self, show up in your full colors. You can add red to it and that'll complete it. And
you wear this T-shirt with green pants.
You see me wear this, but you can subtract the green pants.
Well, but these pictures are already online, so...
Forget about it. This year...
Don't be surprised if you receive a painting of your good self with this.
It won't align.
With the umbrella.
It won't align.
No, it's raining lately.
I'm saying it won't align. This nullifies all the propaganda. So certainly, I think we want to do that. And honestly, this is not an NPP effort. This is a bipartisan effort.
Very well.
And it ought to be. It's a cause for Ghana, not a cause for NPP. It's a cause that we must all believe in because our democracy is at stake.
Thank you so much. And just before we hand over for the final part of this show, which is a conversation between KMJ and award-winning satirist and comedian DKB, one word, just one or two words in describing the NDC's President John Dramani Mahama in the first quarter. Just one or two words. Abysmal.
They've not kept their promise with Ghanaians. The 24-hour economy, where is it?
A limited number of appointees, they've done that.
They said they are not done. They have some four outstanding, which means that it could go more than four. They haven't kept their promise. As we speak,
it is still within the 60.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that they have not kept their promise, even if they have done that. What is the material value?
As we speak, the promise has been kept.
Compare.
I was just asking you about the first 4 months.
No problem. I'm saying compare that he has 60 ministers and that he has not fulfilled 24-hour economy.
The dollar is at 14 Ghana cedis.
I'm saying
that was also reality.
The essence of things is that when the thousands of young people, you told them you want to create jobs for them, on the basis of which you promoted 24-hour economy, a game changer.
That's
a
game changer over the course of time.
No, they didn't tell us that. They said they will bring 24-hour economy. This year, this first fiscal year, there's nothing 24 hours that's going to happen.
Okay.
They will do this next year when the political season starts. It will just be lost. We told Ghanaians, this is evidence that they have come here on the backs of deceit, and they are not going to do much.
Very well, very well. A conversation with Richard Ahiagbah. He is the National Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party, here with me on Prime Morning, addressing various issues, including the upcoming demonstration against the suspension of the Chief Justice, and that will be held on the 5th of May, as he has as he has articulated. So we will be keeping our tabs on it, and we'll be looking ahead to this particular happening within, our space. So thank you very much, Richard, and you have a wonderful time.